Okay, Delane, I hope I've pronounced that right. Let's have a look at this issue for you, which I think is down 100% down to shooting at high ISO. The decision you should be making is that if you're shooting when there's a good amount of light, keep your ISO 100-200 and live with the shutter speed. If you're shooting in an early morning, in an evening, when you're looking at there isn't as much light, maybe ISO 400 just to keep that shutter speed a little bit higher. If you're shooting inside a church that is really dark, then you need to be shooting at ISO 800 or even higher. But you should be making that decision, not leaving the camera to it. Downside is the higher ISO causes noise. Now sometimes you've got a cost benefit. Do you have a blurry image which is useless, or do you have a noisy image which you can do something with? In your circumstances here, I would say you do not need to shoot at such high ISOs. So let's have a look at this image you've sent me. This is a raw file. I've got it set to fit in Lightroom. And if we printed that at 6x4, or you viewed that, you'd probably think, yeah, that is okay. You wouldn't see it because your eye can't resolve that kind of detail. But let's take it into Develop module. And then let's go up to Fill. Yeah, fill, probably just the same. It looks okay. Let's take it up to 1:1. Now we can start to see the problem. You can see all these dots. This is noise. This is being generated by that high ISO of 2000. So let's take it up to even 2:1. You can see that it's even worse. So if you wanted to print this, anything like A4 or A3, you would see all this. It would be horrendous. So long as you're keeping your printing small, no problem. Okay, so let's have a look at actually what this is. Well, if I go to the detail panel, and here we've got sharpening. Well, first there is a little bit of sharpening that's in by default, so I'm going to take that off. And then we're just going to look at the noise. Now there is a little bit of colour noise. Now you get two different types of noise. You get luminance noise, which is the black and white dots, and you get colour noise, which is basically coloured blotches. And there's a little bit put in by default, so I'll just take that off altogether. And can you see on the screen now you've got little turquoisey, purpley, greeny sort of dots. Let me take that up to 3:1 for you. And you can see them even better on here. That's colour noise, and that's generated by high ISO. Now you've got a choice, like I said, either a blurry picture if it's a motion picture, or noise. Now if it's just noise, then you can live with it, but in your case there was nobody moving, so you had no need to shoot at 2000 ISO. So what can we do about it? Well, we can use the colour noise reduction, and what we can do is move that slider, and you'll see that all them coloured blotches disappear. Detail, well, we can move that down a little bit, but generally I don't need to move that a lot, and the smoothness I'll leave at 50. So we've dealt now with a lot of that colour noise, it's gone. Now we look at the luminance noise, and the luminance noise is all these dots and these high contrast areas. And so what we can do, and luminance is basically blurring the image. So what we do, we take the luminance noise over until all that mushes together. Now we are blurring everything. So if we take that detail slider, you can go low detail, or you can go high detail. Now high detail will try and bring some of these edges back. So basically it's high detail for such as architecture and low detail for such as portrait work, because you don't want to show all the nooks and crannies on people's faces. So I'll leave that there, and that's now a lot smoother. If I just show you that and turn detail panel off. So this is where we were to start with, and this is where we are now. So we've got now a much better image for printing out on a larger size. I'll just take that back. You see no difference at this size, but if you wanted to print that up at 3:1, now we've got a fairly smooth image. We've still got a little bit of noise, so if you wanted we could go back and crank the luminance up a little bit more. But you start looking even in the face details now, it has softened it a little bit. And this is where we then, once we've dealt with the noise, we deal with the sharpening. And we just pull a little bit of sharpening. If I take that too far, that noise is still there, it's underneath, and it will really over sharpen the image. If you give sharpening something to grab hold of, it'll grab hold of it. So we'll just put a little bit of sharpening in. And then this masking slider allows us to mask it out from where we don't want it. So if I click or hold the Alt key down, you'll see a white sheet. As I pull the masking slider across, you'll see it goes black and white. Now everywhere that's black now is not being sharpened. Everywhere that's white is. So all we're looking at is really just trying to sharpen around the eyes and a little bit of the hair. And that is probably as good as you're going to get it. And that's a workflow for using noise reduction and sharpening. What you need to do is get your ISO set to 100 and 200. Take those same shots. I think there's enough light there to be able to handhold the camera. If there isn't, then try the ISO at 400, but don't take it any higher. If you still can't get a good enough shutter speed, get your tripod, get your camera on a tripod. Right, okay, well that's my two penneth. I hope it's been useful for you. If you have any other problems, give me a nudge and I'll see if I can help you. Okie dokie, I'll speak to you later. Bye for now.